folks, I've got the fabulous Jim Casson.
Close. Casson.
No, Casson.
Casson.
Oh, Casson.
Yeah.
So Jim Casson is with us, and he's part of this beautiful album that is called Canberra.
Yeah.
It's a play on words because it's like it's almost Canberra. The very end.
Yeah.
So Jim, I understand that this album was a passionate reminder of uh, the Ontario places because you used a military topographical map
Yeah.
to source some of the song names. Now, tell me about your struggle with this album. Now, with everything COVID hit and whatnot, but how did you come about doing it based on the band members that you have?
Well, the first this is the second album, Canberra. The first one happened during the COVID lockdown.
Hmm.
We're all experimenting, doing tracks for each other. Some people were doing live stream concerts, and they wanted backing tracks for. I had a friend of mine who would play guitar and sing in his backyard, and he asked if I could record some drum tracks for him so he could play like karaoke tracks.
Hmm.
And so that's where the idea started. We started fooling around with this, doing all this remote recording. And I said to a couple of the guys, "You want to try to do some original music? Want to make some stuff up?" Of course, we were all, desperately bored, and we definitely wanted to do stuff. It was driving us crazy being locked in our houses.
Hmm.
So we started experimenting with stuff, and the first album kind of evolved out of a bunch of different trial and error things that we did, and it got a really great reaction when it was released. A lot of critical praise, and so 2 years later, I talked to the guys who we'd worked with. I said, "Hey, do you want to do another one?" They said, "Absolutely." So this one, the same sort of approach. We recorded all, well, not all, but most of us recorded remotely in our own studios,
Hmm.
and we just took the same approach with this album, and it's a little more focused than the first album. We kind of decided on a sound that worked the best on that album, so
Hmm.
we focused it a little more on this one. But I think it came out pretty well.
Now, you do the drums
Hmm.
on the album.
Yes.
Can you tell us about the other members? Unfortunately, I read the sheet, but I don't remember all their names.
Yes, that's okay. So yeah, I'm like the drummer, producer, editor. I do a little bit of keyboards and some other percussion stuff, and then I kind of organize all the music as it comes in. Um, I have a tuba player named Jay Burr out of Dundas, Ontario,
Mhm.
and then there are two guitars, Wayne Deatter, who plays all the normal guitar, and Mike Branton, who plays all the slide guitar.
Mhm.
And also on a few tracks, I have a friend of mine named Mark Lalama, who's a fabulous keyboard player, and he plays keyboards and accordion on a couple of different songs on the album. And that's the all the personnel on this album. The first album there was a bunch of other guests. This
Mhm.
time we decided let's just try to make this sound more like a band than a concept album. So
Well, it's not a concept album as far as I could listen to it. I listened to it 3 times since we were trying to set this up,
hmm
and I like it. I mean,
thank you.
there's no apart from one song which folks, if you buy the album digitally or physically, you're going to see that there's a lot of names. The one name that is possibly not a town, and Jim, you can correct me, it's the last song on the album, which is called White Toyota.
Yes. Yeah, that one definitely was the outlier on the album for a couple of reasons. It was Well, the album is instrumental, with the exception of that song,
Hmm.
which I actually ended up singing on, which is something that has only happened on a couple of occasions in recorded history. But it was kind of funny. It was another song that was supposed to be instrumental,
Hmm.
and so I'm working away on it. I've got the drum parts down. We've got the tuba part down. I'm working the melody out, and I've got the melody all tracked, ready for somebody to play it. And suddenly, the first lyric of the first line of the lyric came into my head, and I went, "Oh, that's kind of interesting. Let's see where this goes." And I ended up writing this whole lyric for it, and I actually had a couple of guys I contacted to sing it, because I'm not known as a singer at all. And I
Okay.
thought I get some guys who can really, really sing. And but in the end, it turned out to be a love song about my wife. And I kind of said, you know, I think I have to sing this song. I don't think I can let somebody else sing a love song about my wife. Uh,
Oh, okay.
so that's where, and she drives a white Toyota. That's why the title came like that. So
I kind of figured, because the way the lyrics went, it didn't start off like a love song, but as you listen to the lyrics, you eventually get the clue that
exactly.
it's about your wife, it's about you, it's about her driving a white Toyota.
Yeah.
Now, throughout this period, now the first album came out during COVID. Now we're pretty much all outside doing our thing as best as possible. COVID's with us like a looming shadow almost on a daily basis.
Mhm.
Are you and your bandmates planning on doing any touring for this new album? I'm assuming yes.
The band has never performed. The band has never performed, and in fact, the guys in the band hadn't met until we shot the first video for the second album. The guitar players and the tuba player had never met each other. We'd done two albums together, co-write all these songs, and they'd never been in the same room together. So
Okay.
it's mostly a recording uh, concept of a band. We have been offered a couple of opportunities that we couldn't put together for scheduling reasons.
Mhm.
We're not against doing any shows, but we've never. It wasn't put together to do shows, but I think it would be a lot of fun to do some, and I think the rest of the guys in the band would love to actually get up and put this on a stage somewhere, but and see where it all goes in a live situation. But at this point, there's nothing planned for that.
Yeah, the album, compared, because I was blown away by the fact that a lot of the bandmates, and you included, have some reference materials and have done things like yourself. You've played Downchild, you
Hmm.
played with the Maple Blues, which is one of the actual albums that I'm spinning right now.
Okay, yeah.
And Maple Blues, folks, if you haven't had a chance to listen to them, it's all instrumental. There's no singing, but
Hmm.
it's blues focused.
Hmm.
This album doesn't feel blues focused. It feels more on the jazz side than blues.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, but it's still fun to listen. I mean, it's a tight unit that you present on this album. It's fun. There's no boringness. Like some instrumentals, they bring you into a state of numbness because there's
Right,
no flow.
right.
But in this particular case, out of all the songs that you have, other than the White Toyota one, is there another one that you particularly keep close to your heart?
Well, I mean, they're all my kids, so I yeah, kind of all of them. There's, I mean, you're kind of focused on certain ones when you're working on which songs to push on an album. The song Homer is getting a lot of attention right now. I'm just finishing working up the video for the song called Winger. There's This will be the fourth video for the album. Um, uh, yeah, they're all. I mean, they're all near and dear to the heart. I don't know. It's all different because when you talk about the blues thing. The the concept of the whole project was
Hmm.
I had an experimental music program, a project called Dark Orchard, which used talking and different instruments and all sorts of bizarre stuff. We did a few albums with that, and I thought, and I do so much work in blues stuff. I thought, so what if the blues and Dark Orchard got together in New Orleans and watched Twin Peaks with Daniel Lanois? That was kind of the
That's the
description.
exact feeling.
That was the description of it. And to keep a blues element, I really wanted to. That's one of the reasons that we incorporated the slide guitar so much.
Okay.
Um, Mike Branton is a fabulous guitar player and plays everything, but I specifically limited him to only play slide guitar in this album. And that's, to me, is the real bluesy element.
Hmm.
And there are songs that are, have blues structure and stuff like that. But
They do.
mm,
They do. That's why I like the album, because it's not boilerplate, slap down, and then improvise, and then come back. And so
right, yeah. Well, I
so
mean, years ago, Paul Reddick at the Maple Blues Award had a thing. Uh, 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 he was trying to. He gave an award out for new directions in the blues, and
mhm.
I think it was called the Cobalt Prize, and it was all about trying to find new ways of interpreting the blues, and instead of just doing the same old that guys have been doing for 70 years. Um, do something different. And so that was really one of the things that's inspired me to say, let's go way outside, but still have blues elements in it and see if that still uh, qualifies as blues. I don't know if it will or not, but in some circles it does. Some blues people think it's yeah, there's blues. Some guys go, no, that's not blues. So uh, and
It's it's going to face some challenges more than likely, but that's music. I mean, you either like it, you don't like it, or you're kind of in the middle. So
right.
you won, by the way, for instrumentalist in
uh,
2020.
the Maple Blues Drummer of the Year award for 2022. Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
congratulations, by the way. We hope that this album is going to garner some attention in regards to the Maple Blues coming up next year. So
I hope so. Yeah.
it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Um, the the wonderful thing about the fact that you're set up right now. This is your studio, folks. Look at the man's studio. It's wonderful for a percussionist to actually have the space to do it. As many of my fellow musicians, I'm not a musician, but I dabble. They need space, and finding space isn't always 100%. You either build your own in your own basement or a shed, or you use communal spaces that are made for that particular purpose.
Mhm.
Um, you didn't have to worry about that because you had your studio, you
Well,
provided the tracks, and everyone shared and whatnot. Did you ever get together to record at one particular location or not?
oh, with other bands, of course, yeah. Like the Maple Blues band album you were referring to, that was all done in the studio in Toronto. We all got together, and I mean the parts were layered on, but the drums, bass, guitar, and piano all went down at the same time. And I think they added the horns afterwards. But
Hmm.
yeah, so that happens very often. Um, but with the luxury of being able to do this, I very often record uh, drum tracks for people who are working on projects, and they can be all over the place. And so it's I figured out how to do a few things with the recording, so I can manage to get a good drum sound, and so people seem to be pleased with that. But I like to say how technology really caught up with my budget. That's it got to be somewhat easy to put together a workable recording studio because the technology advanced to the point where you didn't have to have uh, you know several $100,000 worth of equipment in your studio to make it workable. So that's really where it started, is where I was able to put together something small at first, and then of course it just keeps building. Oh, I could use another microphone. Oh, I could use that. Oh, that looks good. I should have that too, and it just never ends.
Well, I'm glad that you actually had the capacity to do it, and that your bandmates all joined in to actually make this album. I'm quite happy about it myself as a music listener and a DJ, but this is amazing. During everything that you've done, now bear in mind you're more than just a musician. You're also a person, a living human being.
Mhm. Yep.
Do you have hobbies other than concentrating on music?
Well, I always like to say one of the great things about being a musician professionally is that your job is also your hobby, and that's, if you can make money doing something you love, they say you never have to work a day in your life, because that's just what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I enjoyed doing photography. I'm enjoying the video production right now, which again, due to technology, I can afford to figure out how to make that work. So on a small scale, like on a music video scale, I enjoy filmmaking. Um, I'm a sports fan. I I I know we're in Moncton right now. You're Moncton, right?
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
is that like, Habs territory, or Bruins? I don't.
For us, it varies. I mean, you've got the Canadian Montreal teams that people tend to
Mhm.
love. There's the Toronto teams. There's Tampa. There's a whole bunch of teams. I'm
Okay.
not a sports fan,
Okay.
unfortunately. I
Yeah.
enjoy watching the games that we have:
Yeah.
football, baseball, soccer,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. But realistically, for me, I'd be a boring person when it comes to sports.
Well, yeah, watching sports is boring for anybody who's not an avid sports fan. Like, my wife looks at me and goes like, "Really? You're gonna go watch another game tonight?" Yes, I'd like to watch a game, honey. All right. So
Well, now the last question that I have is fairly oddball. What would be your favorite dish?
my favorite dish, like food,
Yes.
my favorite food. Wow. It's like I'm on a dating website or something here. What? My favorite food. I like sushi. I like Thai food. Um, and a good steak that's, nice and rare is a nice thing too.
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, when we go out for dinner, yeah, sushi wins a lot.
Okay.
And it's
So,
hard to find a good sushi place this far inland. But
mm,
you get out to when I go out to British Columbia, and we do tours out there, and we're out near Vancouver, every night is sushi. It's like, the guys say, "Where are you going for dinner?" I said, I get out my phone, I'm looking, I said, "There's a sushi joint right around the corner. I'll be there." So
well, sushi wins the bet for Jim
I think
Casson.
Casson.
Casson. Oh,
Casson.
I apologize.
That's okay. I get
Names
it.
are a
I
challenge.
I was sure, with the francophone background, I was going to be Casson, because I get that all
Casson?
the time too.
No, no. I kind of go the English first, and
Yeah.
then I come back to French when I notice that the name is actually more on that side. But that's pretty much the interview. Is there anything that you'd like to add to this before we end?
If we could mention a website that you can go and see get the band, the website is greenlanterns.ca, and that's where all the listen links and the purchase links and all the videos for both albums are all available, as well as reviews and stuff like that. So that's and this, streaming is wonderful, but it doesn't pay the bills. So
Yeah,
if you like it,
not
pick
fast.
it up.
Yeah. Now, the one question I do have is the name. Why the Green Lanterns added in?
Okay, well, Davis Hall. First of all, there's nobody named Davis Hall, and there's no what Davis Hall was when
Uh-huh.
I was a young boy, when I was in nursery school. So grade, when I was 3 years old, 4 years old. Davis Hall was the community center in my small town, and that was where the nursery school was. So it was a place where they'd have teen dances and stuff like that. So it was a hall
Mhm.
named after some guy named Davis. So I saw that and I said, well, could be a name of a guy. And then the Green Lantern was the name of the convenience store soda shop in my small town when I was a kid. And so I thought, okay, we got the one building here, the other building there. You put them together, Davis Hall and the Green Lanterns. That sounds like a band name to me.
It's a nice band name. For me, the first thing that came to mind is, okay, well, somebody in the band is Davis Hall, but the Green Lanterns, they're a superpower duo or a quartet or army
Yeah,
that defends the galaxy.
yeah. No, it's
Well,
all made up. It's all a fictional character.
well, it's a good fictional character. It
Thank you.
actually gives character to the album. Um, you're from Niagara Peninsula, if I remember correctly. That's
Yes.
your hometown.
Yeah.
And now you're still in Ontario.
Yeah, I'm still. I've actually. I grew up in a little town called Fenwick, which is right in the middle of the Niagara Peninsula, about 20 kilometers from Niagara Falls.
Not
And
bad.
I lived in Toronto for 15, 16 years,
Hmm.
and met my wife, and we started to have kids. And once we had our first kid, we kind of started looking over our shoulder in Toronto and said, I don't know about this place anymore. And we had an opportunity to move back to my hometown, and we moved into my grandparents' farmhouse. So we have a
Oh, nice.
we have a big 100-acre farm here in the middle of the Niagara Peninsula, and it was nice to get a chance to come back there. So yeah, back where I grew up.
Well, that's nice. I'm assuming that there's no agriculture or any cows or sheep or
It's
chickens.
it's a fruit farm, so it's
Oh,
cherries. We have some pears and apples and stuff like that. Predominantly cherries.
okay. Well, that's perfect. I mean, cherries. You can't say that you're in the pits because have pits. Um, but that's it. That's the interview, folks.
Well,
Thank
thank you.
you, Jim
Thanks
Casson.
for having me. That was a lot of fun. I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
hi to everybody in Moncton. One of my best friends grew up in Moncton, so yeah,
Well,
I'll have to
hopefully
tell him.
we'll
I'll have to
see.
tell him I'm big in Moncton, and I didn't mention his
Well,
name. So
oh, well, we hope to have you in the Maritimes anytime soon. That'll be a treat for all of us.
I'd love to come out. It's been a
Okay.
while.
Well.
Thank you.